So KTM has been in the news for a lot of reasons this week, from going almost bankrupt to getting resurrected, and a lot of things has happened, and we'll be working on that video. But in this video, we are focusing on the product, a very exciting bike, the new KTM 390 Adventure. We've been waiting for that motorcycle for a very, very long time. Jehan was a lucky one; he got to ride the motorcycle. So we will discuss about the new 390 Adventure and the base variant, which is the X variant. So
Yeah.
Jehan, how was the bike? How was the ride?
Simply stunning. Simply stunning. There is nothing that the new 390 Adventure reminds you of the old one. The old one, like we said, it was a little bit of a jacked up Duke, slightly longer. But this is the proper Pakka off-road KTM that we were dying to get maybe say 5-6 years ago. We finally got it. We finally got our KTM.
Yeah. And at the beginning of the video, let me be very clear that we haven't ridden the X variant
Yes.
yet, but we have the specs of the motorcycle. Since he has ridden the Adventure variant, let's speak about the details of the motorcycles. What's in common first?
So let's just start with the frame and the engine. Both are, say, started off as a Duke again, but this was a more flexible platform. So the main modifications made to the chassis are the steering headstock and fortifying the chassis to take on adventure capabilities, right? Then the subframe is completely different. The Duke gets the cast aluminum subframe.
Yes.
This is a steel unit, still bolted on, and the swing arm is longer. Okay, all of this remains the same. Even for that matter, the long travel suspension on both the X as well as the standard remain the same. It's only the adjustability that comes on top of it. So ergonomics wise, minor difference. But overall, when you look at the two bikes, more or less they look the same.
Okay.
It is when you start going into the details like the wheels. First things first, you see one is spoke, one is alloy.
Alloy, yeah.
The spoke is a 2117, the alloy is 1917. Touring intentions, but still the tires they've used are the same, Apollo Trampler XR.
So the same compound, but different size of wheel.
Yes.
Yeah, and the X variant is again has a smaller front end wheel, the 19-inch wheel. I think in terms of handling on the tarmac, the X variant will be a better option. But we'll go to that later. First thing, that engine.
Yeah.
It's an all-new engine. It's based on the KTM 390 Duke. How's the engine tuning on the 390 Adventure? Because the engine tune on both the variants will be the same, right?
Hopefully should be the same because again, what we experienced on the Adventure, the standard Adventure, is that KTM has softened the throttle map a little bit, and there are 3 dedicated throttle maps,
Okay.
I should say, for 3 dedicated riding modes. So rain has the softest, the street has the medium, which is surprising, and off-road has the most responsive.
Why?
KTM, because KTM. But again, the in off-road mode, which is the most responsive, it still does not feel quite as prompt or quite as mental as what it feels on the Duke. So
Okay.
if the Duke is 100, this is 85-90.
So it's a mellowed down KTM to a certain extent.
But I don't see the need why you would want to go full out crazy off-roading wise. Maybe for say fun in the twisties, yes, but again, touring intention wise, it sits nicely at 100, 120, even slightly higher in case if you want to, and it does the touring business very well. So
Okay.
why do you really need that extra this thing? Unless if you want that extra, get the Duke or wait for the SMC or whatever is coming next.
Okay, so 120 kph for touring, I think that's a very good speed for Indian roads.
Yep.
But how's the wind deflection like? Because the windscreen is tall on this motorcycle. The front end is completely new compared to the older motorcycle. Has a
Yeah.
lot of rally inspiration.
Yeah.
So how has that helped out?
So I'll be honest, I did not experience it that much because we didn't get as much of a highway stint to test it out, and probably we'll test it out once we get the bike properly back for a thorough road test and then a comparison. But what it felt like, it isolated the rider well and it was deflecting the air around the rider.
Okay.
Now this might feel okay for say the winter tires, but summers might just become an issue because this deflection is good for European countries. For India, you need to be breezy. But KTM engineers and the designers said that in case if there is ever a need in the future where we feel that there will be this need to say offer different windshields, then they'll offer it as a accessory,
Accessories.
like a power part. So that will be part of the power part catalog, a smaller or even a larger one. I don't know why you'll need one, but Yeah, that is possibility there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good source of revenue for KTM, and they need the revenue, by
Yes.
the way. Coming back to the motorcycle, the variants, the X versus the Adventure. First thing you talked about the suspension. The suspension travel on both the motorcycles is the same,
Yeah.
but the Adventure variant gets adjustability. So, what
Yes.
are the kind of adjustability that is it a fully adjustable unit?
No. So front USD4 gets compression and rebound, 30 clicks each, which is a lot more when you compare it to the Duke. Duke has only 5 clicks each. So
Okay.
this is a lot more adjustment on offer. And even the previous SW variant has the same. The same goes for the monoshock, rebound and preload adjustable, 10 clicks of preload, 20 clicks of rebound.
Okay.
So, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, the middle setting or the recommended setting for stock is 15
15,
clicks
yeah.
for the compression and rebound at the front, and 10 clicks of rebound at the rear, and I think 3 clicks of preload at the rear.
So, you're saying that even though you have adjustability on offer, but it's not a fully adjustable unit.
No, so front you don't get preload adjustability, so that will make it slightly more, say, sophisticated to handle the rider's weight better. And at the rear you don't get compression adjustability.
Okay.
Now for that, you will need to go for the R variant, which KTM, to be honest, is considering for India, but only if there is demand.
Yeah, I think it's like the rally variant of the X Pulse, which came on later. I think KTM just wants to test waters with these
Yeah.
two variants, and maybe in the future get the top end variant out.
Yeah.
And so basically, the X variant and the standard variant has the same amount of suspension travel. Only the adjustability is the difference. But how was the ride quality of the suspension? Because on the older KTM 390 Adventure, that was the biggest flaw for me personally. Like, I wanted to buy the motorcycle, but then I rode the bike. That ride quality felt like 10% better than the Duke.
Yeah, because it was a Duke.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, but
Whereas
for an
this
Adventure.
is not a Duke. So the suspension absorbs bumps. That is first thing, which is great to hear. It's not, like I said, it's not quite as sophisticated or as, say, plush or as brilliant as the Himalayans.
Okay.
But it comes very close to it. Okay, in the stock settings. And it just flattens the bike and makes the bike feel neutral. It doesn't upset the bike when you're going over, say, bumps or potholes or anything, which the earlier bike did, if you remember.
Yeah.
You cannot ride it hard and go fast over off-road stretches.
Yeah.
You cannot, say, take in bumps spiritedly. Here, you can take them. It will make you feel what is going on beneath you, but it will not upset you.
Okay.
Yeah. So tuning-wise, it's very good, but not the best still.
Okay.
But it's okay.
Okay. So I'm guessing the X variant might have the same kind of suspension tuning.
Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
obviously not
crossed.
because we don't have adjustable over the in that motorcycle, but hopefully the ride quality will be good.
So basically, what KTM has done is, so by removing the adjustability, they fixed on one particular setting of the USD fork from these 30 and one setting on the 20 clicks of rebound.
Okay.
Now we hope that whatever setting that KTM has chosen is the stock setting.
Okay.
Because if it isn't, then it's an issue.
We'll have to wait and watch for that, how the suspension acts up on our Indian roads when we do a comparo between these two motorcycles. Now, moving forward to the electronics, that one of the biggest things on the new KTM 390 Adventure is the amount of electronics which has come in. And surprisingly, between the X variant and the standard variant, there's hardly any difference.
Yeah.
So, what are the changes? Like, what are the differences among these two motorcycles?
So firstly, let's make it very clear that the X variant earlier was a cheap 390 Adventure. This is a more accessible 390 Adventure.
So, same TFT console and
Same TFT console, but it gets off-road ABS, which means you can switch off ABS intervention at the rear and slide it around. It doesn't get traction control, but it still gets a quick shifter. And the quick shifter right now on the 390 Adventure is the best that they've done so far. Like,
Okay.
we experienced the Duke was a notch up. This is even better than the Duke.
Really?
Yes, and it slick shifts every time.
Okay.
So I don't think so. It's missing out more in terms of cruise control. Yes, that's a
Yeah,
miss.
I think cruise control should have been added on
But you
the.
know why they can't offer it? Because when I was speaking to the KTM engineers, cruise control can only work when you have traction control on board. And traction control on board comes in with the 6-axis IMU.
IMU, yeah.
So these bits, once you add them, the cost goes up.
Fair
So
enough.
there is a compromise, but it's not a significant compromise. And as lovely as the cruise control was during our ride, and I would absolutely like to have it. Are we really getting tired of holding the throttle on for long?
I mean, as a tourer, because the highways are getting better, so I think on that sense, because of the performance available with the new adventure, the cruise control would have been a good addition. So basically, you cannot retrofit the X variant with the cruise control.
No. No, you
Okay,
can't.
so one more opportunity for KTM to generate revenue and give it as an accessory in the future.
No, that's gone.
That's gone. That's not gonna happen.
But we can never discount Bajaj thinking of another variant between the standard and the X, because right now the pricing is 76,500 between the two.
Yeah,
So
that's a lot
imagine
of-
something which is coming in at 35,000 in the middle, which will give you the alloy wheels from here, but the traction control system from here. I know it just sounds very this thing, but maybe KTM can do it. If anybody can, Bajaj can.
Absolutely, Bajaj are the masters of the variants and just milking out a product. Anyways, coming back to the KTM 390 Adventure, so there is no cruise control, there is no traction control, and there's no cornering ABS. I'm
Yeah.
guessing on that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the X variant is perfect because it's more analog. In the end of the motorcycle has to be analog. It cannot become too technical. Yes, all these electronic aids are helpful, but then again, we've been riding without these things forever, and we are here. So I think that's about learning something. Quick shifter is a very good addition. I think that makes the bike very easy to ride in the city and also on the highway. Cruise control, yeah, maybe here and there. I'm not too interested in traction control because traction control, by the way, was the biggest problem on the older 390 Adventure.
Yeah.
Because wherever the bike used to stall, it used to again go on, and a lot of guys fell because of the traction control.
But again, they've solved that issue with the new adventure, right? Whatever settings you leave the bike in. So if TC is off, rear ABS is off, you shut the ignition and you come back, say 2 hours later, it will still come back in that mode.
Okay.
So it will remember the settings. That is a great thing.
Finally.
Furthermore, if you are riding and if you want to switch modes or switch traction control on the fly or something, on the Duke still you had to hold on, press the button
Yeah.
for 3-4 seconds, and then here is just one click, but have the throttle shut and it changes.
Okay.
So finally they are catching up, right? They are making it
More
quicker
intuitive.
and more intuitive,
Nice.
right? And you were mentioning that traction control is not needed. Maybe, given the state of our Indian roads, maybe it is needed. It will make the riders better,
Okay.
but it's still not raw. It's still not analog. It's still got a ride-by-wire system.
Yeah, okay.
It's still not cable operated, right?
Okay.
So it still has. Now the only thing remaining to see is whether the same softened throttle maps come onto this bike as well.
Okay.
Or this bike has the most mental map, which is similar to the Duke, which makes it even more confusing for us to recommend which version to buy.
Yeah, we'll have to ride the motorcycle. Still, we can give out a definitive verdict.
Yeah.
But this is more of a discussion on the variant based on the specs and because he has ridden the adventure variant. Now, one more thing is the ergonomics of this motorcycle. You side on both the bikes. They are exactly the same. Is there any difference?
Barely anything. So like seat height is 830 on the standard, 825 on the X.
X variant.
And 5 mm doesn't make a difference in life in any walk of life, right?
Okay.
And where it makes a difference is that the ground clearance is 10 mm less.
Okay.
But it is still at 227 mm, which is 27 mm more than the previous adventure.
I remember bottoming out the old 390 adventure in
So
some
right
of the
now also you
shoots.
can bottom out the suspension, but it will not scrape its belly.
Scrape the belly, yeah. So
And
these-
it gets a metal bash plate on both variants,
not a plastic one.
not a
proper.
plastic one.
Nice.
It's not high grade aluminium,
That's okay.
this and that, but it's still a metal bash plate.
It's still better than a plastic.
Yeah. So then, technically, ergonomics are same. Weight is also 1 kg difference.
That's
Nothing-
it.
Nothing else.
Oh.
So yeah.
So in terms of dynamics, I think just the front end feel will be different of
Yeah.
the both the bikes because of the 19-inch. So if I want to buy a tourer, an adventure tourer, do you think the X variant makes a lot of sense?
I would say the X variant will be liked by a lot of Indians more than say 70% because
Yeah.
that sorts out everything provided the suspension tune is up to the mark. If the suspension tune is like the previous adventure, then you would blindly go for the standard because you
Yeah.
can filter out of it. If the suspension tune is like the standard, the middle stock settings, then get the X.
Okay.
Okay? But because of alloys, because of the easier riding posture, because of, say, the similar setup, and mainly the price 76,500. 76,000 you can get almost an Activa for that much money.
No, that was like 7 years back. But anyways, but you think why? Like, how can KTM justify the 76,000 extra? Like, okay, it has better electronics. Okay, it has larger wheels, tubeless spoke wheels. I understand that's a lot of cost. But 76,000 because Royal Enfield is giving you a tubeless spoke wheels for 13,000. Huh, it's like winning a lottery, but still it is there in the market for 13,000. And this electronics would be additional 10k, 15k. What else is for the next 30k, 35k or 40k? I'm not
You said
understanding.
KTM needs the money, no? Somewhere they need to generate that revenue.
Yeah.
I am saying, as an experience, the bike deserves that money.
Okay.
Now, we can talk about KTM's value propositioning going up, down, here, there. Like the 390 Duke came in at 3.13 lakh, phenomenal pricing. And now it's again gone back down. So we don't know why it's gone back down. And this bike,
To no effect. But again, that's a different.
this
market.
bike is just 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees more than the older SW variants. But that SW variant should have been the standard variant from the start. So I don't know where KTM and Bajaj's propositioning goes
Too
in the
many
adventure.
permutations and combinations.
But for the fact, I'm saying that 76,000 rupees additional over the X will be justified if you're going to make use of the off-roading potential.
Which is like 5% of us.
Yes. That's why I don't see the need for the R.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Because the R will be another 20k, 30k more.
And if you want an even more hardcore adventure motorcycle or an hardcore off-roader from KTM, just wait, the Enduro is coming.
Oh, yeah.
Enduro is coming in a month's time, and that is going to be cheaper than the adventure, the standard adventure. That is going to be, this is 3.67, that is going to be 3.45. Admittedly, it will not be a great tourer
Yeah.
because of the small fuel tank
Yeah,
and everything. But you are getting an off-roader. You want an off-roader, so get that bike. It's going to be lighter. It's going to be taller seat height for sure, but it's going to be better packaged. It's going to be more fit to take on off-roading
And lighter,
elements.
capable for
Yeah.
you to learn, and you won't be afraid of dropping the bike and, hurting yourself.
This bike itself, and what it has over the Himalayan, it's 16 kilos lighter than the Himalayan.
Yeah.
Even after the Himalayan has shed whatever kilos, 1-2 kilos, this is still 16 kilos lighter than the Himalayan.
That's a nice one.
After jumps, 2-3, you're not fatigued like you're still capable. In fact, at the shoot,
In fact, the Himalayan was very top heavy. Like when you're making a jump, it was very scary because the front end used to come down. You used to always mostly, like I used to mostly, I don't have good off-road skills. So I used to always land on the front wheel and I used to be very scared.
so this time around when we were shooting, Anand, who's our DOP, he was like, three jumps I gave him, and he's like, I got the shot. I said, no, I'll give you more. So I gave him another 6 more jumps.
Don't worry. Those shots will be used in this podcast.
Yeah, and then water crossing also, the KTM officials had to come and tell me, hey, hasn't your DOP already got it? I said, no, I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for the DOP.
Yeah, talking about the water crossing, a lot of conversation is about the underbelly exhaust.
Yeah.
And I think that is a conversation because people think that water might seep into the engine and all that. I think what KTM has done is more for mass centralization and
Yes.
reducing the weight. And I think you went through all those water weightings and all that, and you had no issues over there.
So KTM also shared with us another clip where this was going to be a primary concern, right? Like similarly, when they had a concern with the Freedom's fuel tank, they did all those crazy tests.
Yes,
run
yes.
This thing. This time around, they did another crazy test where usually you will go to 300 mm deep water. They went to a 400 mm. Installed a running engine. Okay, kept it over there. Started the engine, kept it running for a while, and still rode out. Okay,
Wow.
so they've designed the exhaust system in a manner where water doesn't seep into the engine's combustion chamber, and the baffles and everything let the water go out.
Okay.
So it's never going to make it to the bits that need to fire.
Okay.
Right? So the engine protection wise, that is covered. But in case if you're going to go out and put, say, aftermarket exhaust, then just recommend it. Firstly, don't
Yeah,
I don't
why?
think so you need one. And in case if you do, get an upswept one, but again, wait for it.
So basically, the new KTM 390 Adventure is ready for the Mumbai monsoons. That's
Is
the
ready.
adventure most of the Mumbaikars do. So yeah, right.
I don't know because that will be like even higher than 500, 600 meters. I don't think so. Any bike is ready for that adventure.
I'm looking forward to test
Maybe the
that.
Tenere. But yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, the Adventure X is a great option for someone looking for a touring motorcycle. One more aspect I feel that in terms of the pricing conversation that we had, I think more than the standard version being expensive, I think the base version is very excitingly like the pricing is very aggressive. We thought the pricing could have been for the base variant around 3.2 lakh rupees or 3.3 lakh rupees. But again, KTM surprised us with the pricing. So, in terms of value, the X variant makes a lot of sense for a guy who's starting off his adventure journey, also, because I think the X variant is more accessible with the smaller front end. You can learn the basics of off roading, you can go out touring. So, if you want a proper tourer, the
Yeah.
X variant is making a lot of sense. Again, we haven't ridden the motorcycle, but at least on paper, while if you want to go hardcore, which is where the older 390 Adventure struggled also, like off-road also, it wasn't a great motorcycle. Now you have that option of going hardcore off-roading with the standard variant, and the X variant is giving you the option of a very good tourer, very good price point, very good performance. And I think the electronics, yes, there are some compromises, but I think those are the right compromises.
And let's just quickly bring this video to an end. We will be riding the Adventure X in the first or the second week of March. We've just received news before we started recording that the bikes will be given to us. So we promised you a comparison with the Himalayan. So would you like us to compare the X or the standard? Let us know that in the comment section below. What else you want us to cover in that video? Let us know that as well. Don't forget to like and share this video. If you like this style of a video, let us know that as well, and we'll bring more of this to you.
And any other topics which is of interest for you guys, please let us know in the comments so that we can work on them and get you some nice details. Thank you.
Sure.